49ers have extended Brandon Aiyuk. It's 4 years, $120 million. Like most 49ers fans, I'm sure you are exhausted with all of the off-season storylines. Last year, it was Nick Bosa and Trey Lance. This year, it's been Brandon Aiyuk, and most recently, to go along with that, Trent Williams. We haven't been able to talk much football, but it's good to have him back on the team, and this is good for Aiyuk. It's good, and it was what is best at this point for the 49ers. It made no sense to trade him after the draft unless you were going to get a quality receiver in return, and you weren't going to get a receiver that was actually better than Aiyuk unless you somehow pulled off a Jamar Chase trade. But why would the Bengals do that? This is the year to get to the Super Bowl again and finally win it. And how were you going to do that if you're going to trade Aiyuk? Unless you're able to restock during the draft. Even so, it was going to be that much harder. You need the best team on the field. You need to be as loaded as possible. And when I'm looking at the roster, this is a team that's going to have to be carried more by the offense than ever. You still have big players on defense. You have Bosa, you have Warner, but they're thinner on defense. They don't have the depth they've had on defense, and they have to be carried by the offense. And Brock Purdy needs to be, I already believe, a top 10 quarterback, but he needs to continue to play like a top 10 quarterback in the league. And this has to be an offensive first team, not defensive. And you need Aiyuk to do that. This offense works because of how effective Brandon Aiyuk is, not just as a receiver, but as a blocker. And that was one of the issues with the 49ers trying to attempt to replace Brandon Aiyuk through the trade or through the draft. Is it's not only his production as a receiver, it's also his play as a blocker. As the 49ers they have multi-talented players. Think about that with Aiyuk. Think about Deebo Samuel's a Swiss Army knife. Think about McCaffrey not only as a running back but as a receiver. George Kittle being a complete tight end, a receiver, a blocker. There's so much talent on this offense, and now that everyone's back together, at least the weapons, the skilled players, it's time to take this offense up even to another level. What's next for the 49ers is re-signing Trent Williams. And it's as great as to get Aiyuk back, this doesn't work without Trent Williams. Trent Williams needs to return. This offensive line, quite frankly, without Trent Williams, I don't even want to think about the offensive line without Trent Williams. And it was kind of a joke what Steelers fans were thinking they could do to trade for Aiyuk. It's just like trade some mid-round picks and just a bag of peanuts for Brandon Aiyuk, a receiver that went over 1,000 back-to-back seasons, a receiver that is clearly on the ascent, even in an offense that doesn't feature passing as much as many offenses. This is a team that loves to run the football, and he still put up the excellent numbers he did, especially going back in 2023. And the Steelers just didn't have enough to offer, in my opinion. The Browns, unless you're getting maybe Amari Cooper and a good draft pick, that was the only trade that made sense. And the Patriots, what did the Patriots have? Well, when thinking about all these trades, I'm glad we don't have to think about it anymore, and we can finally focus on football again. And you couldn't depend on rookies. That's the other thing. With Pearsall or Cowing, they have potential, but they need Aiyuk out there. As much as I love Debo, you need your number one proven receiver to go all the way. And I'm glad and I'm looking forward to talking about the actual games on the field. It's a week and a half until Monday Night Football. The Jets are coming in. Aaron Rodgers. Monday Night Football. Let's start previewing the game. Let's start looking at the matchups and get off to a good start. This team needs to get off to a good start. That's what we're going to keep saying in our upcoming videos and previews, is they should be able to get off to a good start as long as everyone's minds are on the field and not on the money any longer, and let's win football games.